Good morning. I'm back again. I haven't done one of these in a while because you guys haven't really had to, and we had that long weekend. So I'm back, and I just wanted to show you guys a couple of things before we get started with your assignment. So first of all, I know we have been doing Zoom if you guys wanted to check in, and only a couple of you have. But I wanted to point out, if you go to your Google Classroom, up here in the box, and it'll say this no matter what class you are, so this is just an example. It says Meet link, and you'll be able to click on that and log in, and like literally I can pop up and check in with you anytime, and then you can go away. So feel free to check in with that if you want to say hello, ask some questions, whatever you need, okay? So your assignment that I posted today is called Online Identity. So it's right here. I'm going to click on it and go, and you'll see. Remember, it's the same thing. You sign in to actively learn using the same login that is on your Google Classroom code. So I've got this version right here, and I'm going to go through like I always do just to help you out. Okay? All right, so if you think of online identity, first of all, this is a nonfiction text, so we're going to think about the title. It has to do with things that are online and an identity. Remember, identity is who you are. So how could who you are be different if you're online? Remember, we do all this social media and Instagram, and people are acting all different than their actual selves. So think about how we express ourselves differently. That's what these directions have you look at. People can create a different persona, like a different personality on the internet, because we can't actually see who you are. So the internet allows you to give maybe an impression of who you want to be, but that also sometimes can be false. So we're going to look at all the different ways that people express themselves on the internet. So that we're going to start off by thinking, do you sometimes behave differently online than you do in real life? So think about, even on Instagram or whatever social media you use, do you have a different name? Do you have a picture? Do you share pictures that are not of you? How do you present a different look online than you do in real life? All right, let's have a read through. And then remember, you always have all of these notes off to the side to help you. We all came together to do the best we can to give you as many notes as you possibly need. But if these aren't helpful, you can click on things. So an online identity, I don't know what that word means, so I could have clicked on it to translate it. An online identity, sometimes called an internet persona, is an identity established by a user to interact with others through social media such as Facebook, Twitter, blogs, or multiplayer games. Although some people use their real names online, many internet users prefer to be anonymous, identifying themselves by pseudonyms. So anonymous means you don't tell people what your real name is, who you are, what you look like, what you're really like. You are just another person on the internet and use a different name. Some users can be deceptive or tricky about their identity. Users express online identity both explicitly and implicitly. So both clearly and it's implied. So users express themselves explicitly through usernames. So that's an example of how people directly express themselves differently. And the information about themselves that they choose to give others, such as their hometown. They can also explicitly express their identity by choosing an avatar, an icon-sized graphic image, or by creating user profiles in social media networks, such as Facebook. So think about when you go onto games. Do you pick an avatar or some little guy who looks just like you, or do you make it look like somebody else? And think about what that tells me about you if you want to be represented in a specific way. Implicitly, users express their identity through what they say to others and the opinions they express. So if you go on any messages or comments and you say certain things to certain people, that can also tell us who you are, because it's like, the idea of an internet troll who only goes around and says bad things or stupid things to people because that's their internet persona. So that's an example of an implicit expression. As other users interact with an established online identity, it gains a reputation, which enables them to decide whether the identity is worthy of trust. Let's see, so we've got the mask effect, and is online identity reliable? So think about why it's bolded and why subtitles catch your attention like that. What can you infer from subtitles? Social networking services and online avatars have made the notion of identity far more complex because the identities that people define in the social media are not necessarily the identities that they actually have. I think we've talked about that. For example, several studies have shown that people lie about themselves in online dating profiles or in communication with potential partners. Why would they lie about themselves if they are on a dating profile? What are they trying to achieve? And how will lying help them get that goal? So think about a time, it doesn't have to be dating. Think about a time when you lied about who you were online, and it can be as simple as, this is my name. If you say someone that it is your name and it is not your name, that technically is a lie. You're misrepresenting yourself. It's not bad, but just think about why you lied and what you were lying about, what that tells about you. A person may feel that she is able to lie about her identity on the internet because it creates a mask effect where no one can see her true self. So think about that book. If you were in the first and third period when we were reading Bronx Masquerade, Masquerade has to do with wearing masks. And remember, the people in the Bronx felt like they had to wear a mask because they didn't feel comfortable saying who they were. So they acted a certain way to protect themselves. So on the internet, sometimes people do that the same way. Sometimes they're wearing a mask to protect themselves from whatever, and it could be anything, not necessarily danger, but just other people's impression of them. Social theorists believe that whenever an individual interacts with others online, she portrays a mask of her identity, not her true identity. This is partly due to the fact that in some online contexts, such as Facebook, she must answer specific questions to create an online profile. So maybe it's Facebook's fault if you guys use Facebook. Further, as she begins to interact with others, she adds more and more layers to her mask through the vocabulary she uses and the topics she writes about. So sometimes also, I know you guys don't use Facebook a lot, but a lot of older people are leaving Facebook, like in my age, because people post so much about their political beliefs or religious beliefs, and so much of it is attacking. And sometimes it's not even who that person is, which is why we're friends with them in the first place. But then they start doing all of this posting and attacking and going on and on and on about something I don't want to hear about. And so we leave or we unfollow that person. And that is sometimes that person's internet persona. Like in real life, I would probably talk to them, but on Facebook, I can't deal with them anymore. They're too much because they have so much more confidence. They can just say whatever they want. All right. So that's what they're talking about when they think about the mask. The kind of mask one chooses reveals at least something about the person who chooses it. I mean, it may be covering up who you are, but it is going to say some truth based on what you're trying to show and what you're trying to hide. While the online mask does not reveal the actual identity of the person, it does reveal an example of what lies behind the mask. For instance, if a person chooses to act like a rock star online, this may mean that he or she has an interest in rock music, or like this is a dream they wanted to have and they didn't, so at least online they can act like they fulfilled their dreams. Even a person choosing to hide behind a totally false identity says something about the fear and lack of self-esteem he or she may be experiencing. So I want you to think of all of that and think about, why are online masks important? What is something that it gives you? And I have a little note over here. Even a completely false identity is based on some kind of truth. Their wants, their needs, their fears, their values. So does an online mask reveal what a person is truly like? Does it hint at what the person values? Is it easier to see underneath over time? Or do they help people avoid liars online? Think about everything we just talked about in these two paragraphs And what does it say about why online masks are important? And then as a follow-up, how does paragraph 6 contribute to the development of the ideas in the text? So how does this paragraph right here, in all of these paragraphs about online identity and expression and masks, how does paragraph 6 help you understand online identities? And I wanted you to think about what text evidence seems to be the main idea, because whatever is the main idea, that's probably why it's important. So that's what I want you to look at. All right, so that was all about masks. Next we have relation, so it's like your relatives, to real world physical and sensory constraints. Constraints are something that holds you back. So think about how the real world maybe holds you back in a way that the online world does not. Online identity offers potential social benefits to those with physical and sensory disabilities because others cannot see them. So maybe someone who doesn't fit in, or they have something that's holding them back in the real world, they can hide those things online and they can get more friends and they can feel like they fit in more. These users can free themselves from their disabilities by creating online personas that are not disabled. This is called disembodiment. Get it, like embody, body, embody, disembody. So it's separating them from the body they have in the real world. And gives these users the opportunity to operate outside the constraints of social stigmatism. So they don't have to operate inside of the constraints of social stigmatism when people disapprove of something that you do or you are. So which phrase helps us understand the meaning of a stigmatism? So you can't use the notes. Knowing that it means disapprove, what in here might give you the idea that stigmatism has to do with disapproving? That's what you're looking for. And it can be any other paragraph, not just the one we looked at. They can be treated on their merits as a person rather than being seen as someone inferior due to a disability. So someone can feel, so the masks can create positive effects in addition to negative effects. So they can create a lie, but they can also create a new freedom and a new life for somebody who's felt held back their whole time. So here are some concerns. So there's going to be some examples of concerns that people have about online identities. Most concerns about virtual identity revolve around the contrast, which means the differences, between online and offline existence. The ability to challenge the notion of what real means has raised questions about how virtual experience may affect one's offline emotions. So I want you to think about what describes the main idea of the article. These are the last two questions. So if you look at the last paragraph and you go back up to the first paragraph, what is a way that you can figure out the main idea in your own words? What is this article mainly about? It's obviously mainly about online identity, but what about online identity? Okay, what is the one message they're trying to send? And you're going to pick from one of these ideas. Is it individuals are more likely to explicitly, which means directly, share their true interests and personality on social media? So are individuals going to share their true interests and personality explicitly, clearly? Do online identities allow people to shape how others see them and express themselves in a way they are unable or unwilling to in real life? So that kind of hints at that mask. They're able to shape it and control it. Individuals use online personas to positively and safely express their identities without people judging how they really look, speak, and behave. It again talks about that mask and shaping how people look at you. Online identities are deceptive, they're tricky representations of people who are unhappy with themselves and lie about their identities so they can be accepted by other online personas. So as you look at these, also remember that a main idea or summary takes out opinions. So if there are any opinions in these answer choices, that is not going to be the right answer because it's judging the article. And then the last one before you guys get out is, how might an online identity be better than an offline identity? And it's just up to your opinion, okay? So I hope you guys think about your online identities and you do a great job on this article. Okay? Have a great week and check in with me if you need anything.